Hey, it's Tpok. Just bumped my microphone, sorry. I am back in Symphonic Rain. And yeah, let's just get back to it. We left off talking to about to talk to Lise. Lise, I don't know. I'm gonna go with Lise. The problem is I have a cousin who goes by Lise and spells it the same way. So I keep thinking of that, but Lise. I recline against the door, watching the girl as I train of thoughts run. She was about to start singing again when she suddenly turned around and looked my way.
Dare?
I'm sorry. I took it she was startled by her sudden visitor as her body stiffened and she stood as if nailed to the ground. Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you, it's just that the door was open. Sorry. Despite my apology for peeping in on her, it didn't seem like I was going to get any reaction. I did feel it was inappropriate to sneak a peek at her in such a way, but considering she was just singing in a place people could pass by at any time, coupled with the fact that the door was ajar, I felt I wasn't entirely at fault. Is something the matter? The girl looked a bit frightened. To top it off, she kept giving me these accusatory glances. I began feeling like I'd done something terrible to her. Moving away from the door, I had intended to leave her be. Then suddenly, as if she'd been waiting for me to move, the girl grabbed her bag and attempted to escape through the gap.
失礼します。
Ugh. She had tried to run off with her eyes cast downward to avoid eye contact, but ended up colliding with me. Textbooks and scores had fallen out of her open bag and were scattered about. In the midst of the scene sat the girl, fallen smack on her behind. Are you okay? I was sort of afraid she might have hurt herself. It wasn't really my fault, but I did have a share in the cause. Want me to lend you a hand? However, the girl was just silently glancing upward at me. Tears even began welling up in her eyes. I heard you singing by chance, so I just wanted to see you for a bit. I said in a gentle tone of voice, then picked up the scores scattered on the floor and held them out to her. If I was bothering you, I'll be out of here in a minute. Here you go. The girl just stared at the scores and made no attempt to take them from me. Your scores? I considered leaving them at her feet and just walking away, but I felt that would be a little bit too cold-hearted. I'll leave them here, okay? I kinda wanted to ask her about the song, but with her acting like this, I probably wouldn't get a proper answer. It was probably best to just leave her be after all.
ありがとう。
At long last, the girl nervously accepted the scores I was still holding out to her with her small white hands. They were trembling slightly. Please don't worry about it. It was my fault for entering unannounced. Was it really just surprise that caused her to act like this? There might have been an additional cause. However, it didn't seem like I could inquire her about that. It appeared in the girl's best interest for me to just leave her be. I'm sorry for listening in on you without permission, but you are a really good singer. Well then, if you'll excuse me. As the girl stood up and timidly wiped the dust from her clothes, I gave a light bow and went for the door. I turned around to face the voice behind me. The girl was still looking downward, averting my gaze, but she seemed to be attempting to speak. Since this didn't go anywhere, I attempted to stimulate her. That was a poor choice of words, I feel. Is something the matter?
変な歌を聴かせてしまって。
The girl said with averted eyes, still making some kind of excuse. Silly. I don't think it was silly at all. When I said you were a good singer, it wasn't intended as flattery.
ごめんなさい。
The girl hung her head and apologized again. There's really nothing that would warrant an apology here. What are you so sorry about? She went silent again. How was I supposed to get through to her? You could introduce yourself. Since she spoke up to me, it seemed she didn't want me to leave immediately. There probably wasn't anything else she would need to talk to me about. but her behavior sparked something inside me. While she didn't really resemble her, it made me think of Arietta when she was little. At the time, she was belittling herself for being the only one of us without musical talent, and she would always apologize, thinking that it was her fault. Granted, this was a long time ago, and by now Ari had found things that she could be confident about. In any case, with the girl acting like this, I just couldn't leave her alone anymore. I understood from the color of her ribbon that she was a freshman, so I decided to speak to her more casually. Anyway, why were you practicing in a place like this? Why not use a practice room instead in the main building?
私、あまり人混みが。
I see. Since it's quiet here, it's the perfect place for you. She still looked a bit stiff, but I was glad she at least seemed able to answer normally now.
あなたは。
Hmm?
ごめんなさい。何でもありません。
Wave of silence. It appeared to be a habit of hers to apologize at the drop of a hat. No need to apologize that much. What's up?
どうしてここに？
For no reason. I just happened to pass by and I heard you singing.
そうですか。
At the very least, I didn't come to this place with the laudable intent of practicing.
はい。
I meant it as a joke, but that seemed to have flown right past her. In fact, I began to wonder whether or not she was even listening to me in the first place. You should make sure the door is closed from now on. There might be more people like me that get captivated by your voice and barge in. I jokingly left her some advice and attempted to leave when I heard her apologetic voice from behind me once again.
はい。気をつけます。ごめんなさい。
Like I said, stop apologizing.
はい。
You're scaring her, man. I had to restrain myself from getting angry for a moment. Why would you get angry? I don't get it. So Ari, from my memories in the school, Ari would also keep apologizing to the kind teacher in music class without ever listening to what he had to say. As a result, I no longer felt like leaving the room. The girl probably felt like I was meddling. But if my words could change something in her, at the very least I'd been able to change Arietta. But it seemed a change of subject was necessary. I didn't want to go home yet, not until she made it more clear she didn't want me here at least. By the way, are you from the vocal department? I changed the subject to something less intimate? Was that what that was? It was common etiquette to ask a fellow student you just met which department they were from. The girl seemed surprised at that. Did she find it strange that I changed the subject all of a sudden? Well, I just figured that was the case since your voice is so pretty. Am I wrong?
あ、いえ。1年です。声楽科の。
I see. Since you're a freshman, was that some sort of training piece you sang?
いえ、違います。
Some famous song?
いえ、
But it was a really nice song. I'm sure it was made by someone who loved to sing. You like that song, don't you? You seemed pretty into it just now. What was more, I couldn't see a score anywhere. Didn't seem like a terribly complex piece to learn from memory, but I praised it regardless. Anyone would be happy to hear their favorite song being praised. That was partly what I was going for. But even so, I genuinely felt it was a good song.
はい。
The girl whose name I didn't even know finally seemed to have broken something akin to a smile. I'm Chris Verton. I'm a senior Fortellist. If it's alright with you, can we play a song just now together sometime? Play that song just now together sometime? I decided to ask her, as she seemed a bit more relaxed now. And in the back of my head, I considered that maybe, just maybe, this could end up becoming something more. She stood rooted to the floor with a surprised look on her face and didn't answer for a while. Did I say something wrong? Oh, if you don't want to, then never mind, it was just a random idea. Tried to brush it off as being no big deal, but the girl once again muttered an apology, eyes cast to the floor.
ごめんなさい。帰ります。
Ah, this time she carried her bag properly closed under her arm as she ran past me. I felt disappointed at the thought of it ending here, so I called out to her one last time. Will you come here again? The girl stopped in her tracks and looked over her shoulder.
いえ、
I see. Sorry for bothering you. Lise, okay. What?
名前
Leaving only that, the girl left. Perhaps she felt obliged to let me know her name after I had already given her mine. I don't think obliged was the right word. I think it's obligated. She didn't look that upset to me, although she said she wouldn't come again. I felt it wouldn't hurt to stop by here once more. There's no guarantee I would meet her, and I might not even be welcome if I did. But I had the feeling that if I came back here, I would be able to see her again. I looked outside the window. It seemed as though the rain had calmed down. It was about time to go home. Recollecting the piece, as well as the sound of her voice that had remained in my ears, I idly began my trek home.
おかえり。今日も帰りが遅かったね。やっぱり練習してたの？
Sort of. I dried my hair with the towel left at the front door and dropped my bag to the floor. I never touched my Fortelle in the end, but I got to hear a good song in return, so I didn't quite think I wasted my time.
ねえねえ、今日は何があったの？
Something kind of peculiar happened.
変わったこと？何？
After my usual interaction with Forney, the day came to an end. Practice and lunch. I spent my time until noon the same way I always did. As I began pondering what to do next, Torta spoke to me.
それで調子はどうなの？
Yeah, more or less.
なんか嘘っぽい言葉だけど。
You'll just have to believe me.
なんでこんなにやる気がないのかな。
No use asking me. You know that, don't you?
はいはい。分かってるって。
Thanks.
じゃあ私はもう行くからね。
Sure. See you next week.
じゃあね。
Oh, it's Friday. Well then, what shall I do now? I am supposed to go to the Scuola place. I stopped in my tracks in the front of the Scuola, which served as a social gathering place for students. I rarely ever came here, and didn't have good memories of the times I did. I convinced myself that times like these were ideal for making use of this place, and resolutely opened the door. Inside, a number of students who were busy performing interrupted their performance and looked my way. Did they think an acquaintance of theirs had entered? I was sure the majority of students present this early were diligent types who had their own private lessons in the morning, like me. I had my lessons in the morning, and for different reasons, though. Hello. I lightly bowed my head. I recognized one of the students' faces from somewhere. Probably someone from the Fortelle department. I was once again reminded of the non-existence of my social life at school, and decided to observe the developments in the room for a bit. As the student whom I recognized earlier glanced my way, he said some things to his friend he was performing with, and they soon resumed playing. He probably realized that it was pointless to try and start a conversation with me. In that case, I should just start talking to them. But despite realizing that, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Just as their judgment was correct, my intuition should have been correct as well. As more and more students flowed in, the people performing and people conversing gradually began to spread out over the room, and I, belonging to neither group, was reduced to being a wallflower. Why the heck did I come to a place like this? Right, I came here in search of a partner. I was in this situation right now because I'd been forced to act like I had a place to search in front of Torta. I was painfully reminded of just how alien I was here. I lost all motivation to search for someone, and right when I felt like going home, my eyes met those of a female student standing across from me.
誰かと待ち合わせですか？
The girl spoke in a soft, hesitant tone of voice as she tentatively stepped towards me. No, I'm not. Bewildered at suddenly being talked to, I only barely managed to produce a reply. I was a bit taken in by her reserved, polite manner of speech.
そうなんですか。では、ここにはどうして？
At that point, I cut in. Sorry, but I was about to leave. Although I wouldn't have minded talking to her for a bit, this wasn't really a place I wanted to be for too long. Excuse me. That's awkward. With that, I went outside. The rain was rather heavy today. Because of that, I felt kind of down. It was only normal this morning. When did it start pouring so hard? Unlike the drizzle-like minuscule droplets that usually fell, these were large and could be seen with the naked eye. Maybe I'll wait for a bit. Maybe I stood the sky for a short while from a dry location in front of the entrance. As I was spacing out thinking of what to do next, my field of vision was suddenly tainted black.
よかったらどうですか？
Huh? It seemed I'd walk a bit further outside without me noticing it. My bangs and shoulders were soaked. As if to make me notice, an umbrella was somehow opened up above me. Only when it had stopped raining on me did I realize that I had been out in the rain. Dumbfounded, I just stood there watching the umbrella. Nice. Good going, Chris. I'm actually gonna end it here. I know it's a bit early, but I might do some more recording later today. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.